President Trump is apparently not impressed with George Washington's estate at Mount Vernon. And during a trip, he let everyone around him know it. Now, Politico is reporting this now, that last year, when Trump visited the estate for a tour, he decided to go on a bizarre rant about how he could have built a better mansion. Come on, here we go again. Now, according to the report, Trump, during this trip, had criticized many of George Washington's architectural and design choices, including having fairly small rooms and narrow staircases. And now, by the way, that was typical of design back in the 18th century. So, Trump also told Mount Vernon President and CEO Doug Bradburn that he, quote, could have built the place better and for less money. George Washington, he sucks at building. I could have built it better and cheaper. What a lunatic. Now, additionally, Trump criticized Washington for naming his estate Mount Vernon instead of naming it after himself. Because, again, that's something that Donald Trump would have done. He said, quote, if he was smart, he would have put his name on it. You've got to put your name on stuff or nobody remembers you. That's according to 3 sources briefed on the exchange. That's stuff Donald Trump literally said. I mean, I guess he's right. I mean, nobody remembers the name Washington, right? Oh, wait. But no, he's like, you gotta name it. Like, why did you name it the Washington State? Why didn't you name it that? Like Trump Tower or Trumpington or maybe the United States of Donald Trump. You don't think he would do that? He'd totally do that. Now, it's worse. Trump's lack of interest in presidential history, said historian John Meacham, means that he has, quote, basically thrown out the one data set available to him. We don't have anything else to study. It's all you've got. Now, they also note that it stands in contrast to other presidents. Now, even President George W. Bush, who I remember, he's not a smart person. He's a dumb person, right? George W. Bush has at least read several presidential biographies. Donald Trump has read none. And he said, I'm not interested in reading about other presidents. Even the ones that he likes. He's not interested. Donald Trump makes George W. Bush look like a very smart, very stable genius. And there's more. Just like a child, Trump has no interest in the history. And look, okay, that's unfair. Because there's a lot of kids that are very interested in history, so I apologize for that one. But like a child, he can't seem to focus and actually pay attention. In fact, according to Bradburn, the president's disinterest in Washington made it very difficult for the tour guide to sustain Trump's interest during a 45-minute tour of the property, which he later described to associates as, quote, truly bizarre. Donald Trump couldn't even stay focused for 45 minutes. He couldn't even pay attention. Now, that contrasts with previous guests like the Macrons. Now, Bradburn told several people that the Macrons were far more knowledgeable about the history of the property than the President of the United States. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Macrons are French. They're literally the French leaders, and I don't agree with their policies. I think Macron is a neoliberal, and it's very pro-business, right? So I don't agree with them on policy. But you can't deny that Macron isn't a smart, well-read, learned individual, right? They know more about George Washington, the first president of the United States, than our president. That's insane. Trump is outstandingly dumb. And the thing is, Bradburn, he tried. They said that he was, quote, desperately trying to get Trump interested in Washington's house, according to a source familiar with the visit. So he tried, and this is not the first story that this has happened. He tried to speak in terms that the president would understand. He would tell the president that Washington was an 18th century real estate titan who had acquired property throughout Virginia and what would come to be known as Washington, D.C. Trump asked whether Washington was, quote, really rich, according to a second person familiar with the visit. In fact, Washington was either the wealthiest or among the wealthiest Americans of his time, thanks largely to his mini real estate empire. And that person said, the fact that Washington was wealthy, that is what Trump was really the most excited about. Oh, is he rich? Does Washington own a lot of property? Was he richer than me? Oh my God. What a child. What an unbelievable baby. I mean, I can't. And yet, people look at this guy and are like, oh, yeah, no, that's our guy. He's just like me. Yeah, maybe he is just like you. That is if your dad left you $400 million and which you completely bungled away because you're a moron. Yeah, maybe he's just like you. He was just born lucky. Look, history is going to look back on Trump and ask, what the hell, man? What were you guys thinking? America, what's wrong with you? Or, although, actually, personally, I would like it better if history decided to forget the stain in the White House, known right now as Donald J. Trump. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.